Hey, good afternoon. Great to join you all again. I'll tell you, John, hearing about your background, that was a little intimidating. Have a numbers guru and a statistics whiz and everything else. It makes it hard being up here. You know, you've often heard that statistic that 97.8% of all statistics are made up on the spot. And I was wondering, statistically speaking, the chances of that being accurate. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity to be with you all in person. The last year or so has just been absolutely incredible. Just with the changes that we're all experiencing, the COVID and all of the other just extraordinary things that have happened over the last year or so. So really great to join you in person. I want to cover a handful of things today. I want to talk a little bit about some of the projects and things that we've been working on, just literally dirt turning items that you see on the ground. Wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the new administration and what to expect, I think, this year with our new president over the next 4 years, I guess. And I want to talk a little bit about just kind of the history of the United States and about the functionality of government, and then make a quick little, I guess, announcement here with our parish president. So starting out, you know, you often see these people maybe on TV or in the newspaper. You know, you may go push a button to vote for them, and I'm one of those folks, and some of our great state and local partners here at this table, people that we work with all the time, or other ones. But how many times do you ask yourself, what are they doing? What are they doing? You know, I may read a quote in the newspaper, and maybe they're saying this is great, or maybe they're beating the heck out of some idea. You may see them on TV. You may get a mailer. You may see commercials on TV. What are they doing? One of the greatest things about the United States, one of the most awesome things about us, you know what? And we got to say a prayer here this morning. We did our Pledge of Allegiance. Is that you get to choose who represents you. And you know what? We're all here like, well, yeah, duh. But it is incredible countries around the world where folks don't have the opportunity to do it. I mean, in Burma, they said a military coup. Military's in charge right now. China, you can't say things. Thailand, you say things contrary to the king, you get put in jail. We're blessed here, and it's really amazing that you get to choose who it is that represents you. And I'm going to come back to that. But one of the things about being represented is, are those people actually delivering on the things that are your priorities? Or what in the world are they doing? And so some of the things that we've focused on since we started is trying to deliver on some of the priorities. And we talk to people just like y'all, whether we do Facebook Lives or we do something called Grub with Garrett, where we'll the first 10 or 12 people that email, we'll invite you to breakfast. We sit down for an hour and a half, and we buy breakfast. We talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. We do telephone town hall meetings. We do virtual office hours where I'll Zoom with you for 15 or 20 minutes and talk about anybody in this room about whatever you want to talk about. Because if you're not engaging, if you're not in a dialogue, you're not being represented. And the things that we heard over and over and over again is, you have got to do something about this traffic. And I'm telling you, it is absolutely one of the top 3 things every single time we talk to people about their priorities. And so we started working with our state reps and with our mayor and parish president, many other people. And you know what? All of a sudden, boom, there's a new lane on the interstate right now. That didn't just happen. That's years and years of work of all of us working together to secure the funds, to make sure that the funds are going to the right place and not being built on things that don't make sense, aren't priorities, or most importantly, don't represent what's important to you. We had people that say that gosh, you know what? My home floods all the time, or there's too much water, or it's too close. And it's a threat because virtually everything I've got saved up is in my home. And if that goes, my life's going to be a mess. And so, you know, 2016 certainly highlighted that, right? And so we started working with our mayor and our parish president and Representative Bakla and many others. And you know what? Right now, we have more money for flood protection than we've ever had for this region. And in fact, you're going to see over $1 billion in improvements. And when I say CM, I want to be clear, dirt is turning right now, including one of the key projects that dates back decades. It's been stuck. Decades it's been stuck. And that's pulling water off of the Amite and Comite river systems and sending it over to the Mississippi, to where we don't have to have 16 parishes water, well, I guess about 12 parishes water, all draining right here through us. Instead, we can send it over to the Mississippi River where there's ample capacity, and we're not going to be experiencing the flooding of the high water. Project's under construction, $400 million, and it's been stuck since the early 80s. Hadn't been going anywhere. And every penny's in the bank, and it's under construction right now. They're digging the new channel, the new canal to convey the water over. Those are things that are going on, again, right now. We're working with the parish on other flood protection priorities like Laurel Ridge Levee, Highway 22 projects, and others to get the water into, well, either keep it out or get it into the Maurepas Basin, keep it out of our homes and into the Maurepas Basin as quickly as possible, because those are priorities. Working on additional crime fighting funds to make sure that our law enforcement community has the resources they need, so where they have the upper hand, not the bad guys. Because these are priorities that we keep hearing. And I see our great superintendent back there in some of the FEMA recovery after the flood. Everything from submitting all the paperwork and making sure that it's actually processed and the dollars come in, to making sure that FEMA doesn't have these crazy policies where they charge deductibles to the school systems in our region that are higher than the actual damages on the school, excuse me. And I'm not making that up. And so we work to change the law to make sure that in the 3 parishes here, EBR, Livingston, and Ascension parishes, that over about $42 million was not being paid to FEMA, and instead was being reinvested back in our schools, back in our children's education, and most importantly, in their future. And you know what? Those aren't things that you often read about in the newspaper, but those are the things that are truly making a difference, and they're representing the priorities that we hear from y'all about things that need to be done. And I want to be clear, those things are happening right now, and progress is being made. Now, we have a new president that was recently sworn in. And you have President Trump, who left and obviously had an ideology that was different, and now we have President Biden in. And so what you've seen is you saw President Trump had a lot of executive orders and actions, and they were conservative. And now you have a new one. So 4 years later, you're seeing this pendulum come swinging wildly over in the other direction. You know, the United States, one of the reasons we have one of the greatest, most powerful economies in the world is because people from other countries will come here and make investments here. You know why? Because it's stable, because it's predictable, because there's certainty, because we have a rule of law, we have regulations, and they're enforced and followed, not these casual interpretations or casual discretionary enforcement, as you see oftentimes in Central America or in African nations or even in Russia. People want to come invest here. In fact, after the tax bill that we did in late 2017, you saw hundreds of billions of dollars in foreign investment being invested in the United States. But this new era of we're going to rule or govern by executive order, that blows up that whole stability or predictability. And a few things that have happened recently, executive orders and other policy changes on immigration, to where people that came here illegally, and look, I want to be really clear on this. I welcome immigrants into our country. I think it's fantastic. It's contributed to the great, diverse, awesome nation that we have. Think about just our food here alone. We'd be eating like bread if we didn't have all these awesome folks come here and share their great ideas and concepts and cuisine with us. The United States today and last year and the year before, we let more people in the United States, immigrants in the United States, than any other country in the world. So I want to be clear on that. That's under Obama, under Trump, and it's going to keep happening under Biden. We let more immigrants in here, but it's got to happen legally. And so there are changes now that are being discussed that would allow people who came here illegally, effectively give them a path to amnesty. And it's concerning for me, because I don't think that you reward bad behavior. Again, we got our superintendent. I don't think you in school, your teachers encourage people to do the wrong thing and reward them for that. It's not the right lesson we need to be teaching. And so I have concerns about it. We're working on trying to address it. We're seeing changes in immigration and some laws right now. You know, this is an amazing statistic. And I know I've spoken to many of you at this table about this, but we only have 6 members of the House of Representatives. There are 435 members of the House in Washington, D.C. We have 6. That's it. We have 6 votes. And that also means that for the Electoral College, determining who our president is, you only get the number of votes as you have members of Congress. So 6 House, 2 Senate. We have 8 votes. 8 votes. That's it. California, by comparison, has 55 votes, or 53 votes in the House and then 2 in the Senate. 53. We have 6 in the House. Now, when you start going through and looking at that, the census says, or the way they're counting the census is they're counting every person in the state, every person in their counties, or in our cases, parishes. And so, according to our estimates, because they're counting everybody, every person that's there, there are probably 6 seats, 6 votes in the House of Representatives, 6 electoral college votes that are attributable to people that are here illegally. So they have 6 when they should probably have 47. We only have 6, period. They have 6 that probably shouldn't be there. And so it distorts our democracy. It distorts your ability to be represented, because their voice is louder than it should be, having those 6 extra votes. Ours is more diminished. This isn't a partisan thing. It's just fairness. I don't think it's right to reward people that did illegal behavior with citizenship. I don't think it's right to reward a state that has granted amnesty or sanctuary to reward them with additional electoral college, more influence on who our president is, more influence on what happens in Congress. I want to say it again. This isn't partisan. It's not that I don't like this president or that representative or senator. It's just a policy difference, and I don't believe it's right or fair. On energy policy, something that it is the largest sector of our economy in Louisiana. It's the largest sector. You've heard people out there saying, we've got to stop producing oil and gas. We've got to address this climate change issue. Let me be clear. I believe humans have impacted the climate. I believe we need to reduce emissions. I am all for alternative energy when it makes sense. But let's dig into the facts a little bit on this. Let's dig into the facts. When you look at the facts, there's one country in the world that's reduced emissions more than every other country. Excuse me, more than any other country. Which one is it? Is it France? It's us. The United States has reduced over the last 15 years, not just when Clinton was there or Obama was there, when Trump was there. We've reduced emissions over the last 15 years, in fact, 17 years now, more than any other country in the world, and I'll double down on that. You can take the next 12 emissions reducing countries, the next 12 countries in terms of the second greatest emissions reduction, the third greatest emission reduction, of course, only on the next 12. You take all of theirs and add it together, we've reduced our emissions more. So we've reduced our emissions more than the next 12 emissions reducing countries combined. And so there are executive orders and efforts to re-engage in the Paris Agreement, the Paris Climate Agreement, because we need to reduce emissions. The Paris Climate Agreement results in greater global emissions. You can't make this stuff up. Greater global emissions. For every ton of emissions we've reduced in the United States, China's increased by 4. I'm not great at math, John, but that's not the right direction. I mean, this is crazy. And on top of it, China gets to continue increasing emissions through 2035 under this agreement. And look, people stand up here and they may say things, look, any single thing that I say that you don't agree with or you don't think it's fact-based, please challenge me, and either publicly or privately. Please challenge me on this. I will give you every single cite and fact on this stuff. It's crazy what's going on. I'll ask you another question. Which country in the world spends more money on energy research and development than any other? Which one is it? It's us. Which country spends more money on energy research and development than every other country in the world combined? It's us. I mean, these are amazing statistics. So then you say, okay, well, they're talking about getting rid of oil and gas. There are projections that we're going to lose 50,000 jobs in the state of Louisiana by next year alone. 50,000 50,000. Now, that doesn't mean 50,000 people are then hurting. That means 50,000 times however big that family is. They have a spouse and 2 kids. Boom, multiply that. 200,000 people are then hurting, or then struggling. So you say, okay, well, what are we gonna do about this climate thing? We've got to stop producing oil and gas. It's not oil and gas that's the issue. It's the emissions. And yes, you can separate them. Let me give you an example. Because of that amazing investment that we've been making in the United States in energy research and development, there's a project now, there's a power plant now in Houston area called Net Power. They use this process called the alarm cycle. They inject oxygen into the combustion process. You have natural gas produced electricity at market rates with net zero emissions. Like, are you kidding? Like you just solved all the problems. You have no emissions, you have market rates of electricity, and you're still using natural gas. Now, if you're the CEO of a business, and y'all are, and look, I got to tell you, both of y'all, Mr. President, Parker, y'all have people that are joining your chamber. This is amazing. You see people all over in these other states, in California, New York, people are leaving by the droves. And here it's growing. Now, if you're the CEO of a company and you're sitting there saying, okay, you're brand new and you got to develop your business plan for your company. And you're really, really good at X. You're really good at this. You've got all the expertise, you got all the assets. Are you going to go out there and go develop a business plan on something completely different? No, you're going to develop your business plan based on your strengths, your resources, and your assets. What do we have in the United States? We have an abundance of oil, gas, and coal. Our energy strategy has to be based on those. This strategy of, hey, we're going to move in a solar and a wind direction. Okay, where are all of the solar panels built? Exactly. They're all built in China. So instead of extracting energy resources we have here, we're going to then stop exporting our natural gas as we're doing to 36 countries around the world out of Louisiana today. And instead, we're going to import solar panels. Okay, so then, well, wait a minute. Now the sun doesn't shine at night, so what am I going to do? I'm going to get batteries. Where are those batteries built? The batteries are built in China. 85% of their strategic metals are controlled by China around the globe. 88% of the strategic oxides are controlled by China, either in Asia or in Africa, but controlled by China. That China knows this. They see this direction. They love it. We're playing into their hands. Our trade deficit with them is going to get even worse. Now, you have states like California or Massachusetts that have tried this. They say, hey, look, we're going to go hardcore in the climate stuff. We're going to do this. Right now, California's electricity rates are more than double those of Louisiana. Please raise your hand if you think it'd be good for your business or your home to pay more than double the electricity rates you're paying now. Just me, huh? Makes no sense, right? Now, on top of it, guess what state is the 43rd worst performer of states in terms of reducing emissions? California. Guess what state is more dependent upon energy imports than any other state? California. This is the plan. We need to replicate that in all 50. I mean, are you kidding? Higher electricity rates, you're importing more energy. You have one of the worst records in the nation on emissions, and we're gonna replicate that one? This doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense, and there's evidence there. Okay, well, look, in Massachusetts, I know they do it, so let's follow what they're doing. Okay, who wants to pay triple the electricity rates you're paying now? Oh, really? Who wants to stop allowing for the construction of natural gas conveyance lines, pipelines, and so then you don't have enough energy to heat the homes in the winter, so you burn home heating oil, which has greater emissions. Then you run out of that, so, hey, I've got the solution. I'm going to import natural gas from Vladimir Putin. Can't make this stuff up. They did it. They brought in natural gas in an LNG ship from Russia. Vladimir Putin was literally on Twitter teasing the United States about it. So look, contrary to what you may think, or some of you may even believe, I actually believe that humans have contributed to climate change. I believe we need to reduce emissions. But let's use a football analogy. And when we had the LSU team season before last, and we were out there and we were undefeated and national champions, what would you have thought if somebody said, you know what we need to do? Like right before the national championship game, somebody came and said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to switch out Joe Burrow and Coach O. You'd be like, okay, are you crazy? But we're the leader right now. We're the leader on emissions reduction. We have some of the lowest energy prices in the world, and certainly in Louisiana specifically, the lowest in the country, the lowest in the country here. Why would you do this big shift and become more dependent upon Russia? You know, when you stop producing or you decrease production of oil and gas, in history this has happened. You can look back even in recent history. You know what happens? Do you stop having the demand for oil and gas? No. You replace it with imports from other countries. Last year, for the first time since 1953, we actually were a net exporter of energy. For the first time since 1953. And moving in this direction where we become more dependent upon foreign energy sources, it's going to pound Louisiana's economy. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for consumers or business competition in terms of efficiency. And again, it's more emissions. These are wrong directions. This is the wrong direction, and the science and the facts show that very, very clearly. You know, right now we're working on a COVID relief package, and I know that many of you have benefited from the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, or maybe from the Paycheck Protection Program, and hopefully been able to benefit from the forgiveness provisions as well. And if you haven't, please let us help you with that. Maybe some of you have been able to benefit from some of the tax breaks or incentives in place. Maybe even some of you have had to take the unemployment assistance for some period of time to be able to offer to get that lifeline to help you through a tough period. You know, right now there's another package. We just did one in December, and there's another package that we were voting on in committee just yesterday. It adds $1.9 trillion. 1.9 trillion. You take that package and you add it to the ones we did within the last year. That would be a total of $6 trillion, which is more than the gross domestic product of every country in the world, except for the United States and China. Just for COVID relief in just 1 year. And they're trying to push this through. Even Larry Summers, the Treasury Secretary for Obama and the economic advisor, Treasury Secretary for Clinton, economic advisor for Obama, says that this will actually cause inflation. It's too much. The Congressional Budget Office says about this summer, without action, without any more money, because we just did a program, a package of approximately almost $1 trillion on December 27th. Larry Summers says without any action, we're going to see our gross domestic product to pre-pandemic levels by this summer. And we're going to come dump 1.9 trillion on top of it. I tried to divert some of the funds to buy a new bridge. I tried to divert some of the funds to help incentivize the economy and get businesses that were suffering back roaring again, and repeatedly got shut down on the amendments. We voted on this bill for 9 hours in the Transportation Committee alone, and that's just one committee. Now look, I want to move toward wrapping up here because Barker keeps kicking me in because I need to shut down. But one thing I really want to talk about is I started talking about the beginning about government and how awesome it is that you can choose who represents you. And I suggested you to think about, what has that person done for me? If they're representing me, what have they done for me, for our community? How have they earned their keep? And I got to tell you, I've been up there now for 6 years, which it seems like it was just yesterday, but it's been 6 years. You know, the founders of this country, these people were amazing. I mean, just really looking at how far and futuristic their thoughts were, and these three branches, and making sure that it made sense, and having the checks and balances and co-equal branches. They set up an executive branch where our president is. They set up a legislative branch where Congress is, and they set up the judiciary. And each one of them is empowered with certain tasks, and your ability to be represented is best represented. Your voice is loudest in the Congress. That's the way it's supposed to be set up. That's your house. But you know what's happened over the past several years as a result of all of this partisan fighting? And look, I want to be clear. I'll beat the heck out of both parties. Both of them are wrong. But you look at all this partisan fighting, what's happened is that the functionality of Congress, the loudness of your voice to be represented in your own government, it has gone from this power center down to this. Now, has that power gone away? Is it now gone? No. You know what happens? You're doing more executive orders by the president. He effectively is exercising legislative authority through executive orders. You now have the judiciary that's out there. In some cases, activist judges are legislating from the bench. That power hadn't gone away. It shrunk in regard to what Congress does. And now you have these other branches that are picking it up. In some cases out of necessity, in other cases out of power grabbing. But you know what? Doesn't matter where you are. You can be flaming liberal. You can be rock hard conservative. It's not good for you. It's not. The Constitution, it doesn't one single place name or empower a political party. But yet you go out there and you look. I offered 13 amendments just yesterday in committee and to that bill. And I'm telling you, some of those amendments were really good. They were good amendments. I had Republicans and Democrats telling me, texting me, that was a great amendment. That was a really good amendment. Wish I could support it. Pelosi told us we couldn't accept anything. Nothing. And look, I'll be clear, I'll beat up on any party. Nobody's got a monopoly on all the great ideas. But the functionality of your own government, of the particularly the branch that's supposed to be where your voice is best represented or loudest, this partisan fighting, it's destroying our country. It's destroying our country. And it's causing us to move in more of a dictatorship type direction almost by further putting all this power within the White House in one person, where you're one of 330 million people. And so my message is this. My message is that, look, Louisiana, we're pretty unique, and we got a unique set of values and unique set of priorities. You know, nobody's handling the water from Montana to New York and draining all through the state. Nobody's experiencing the coastal land loss that we do. Nobody produces the amount of offshore energy that we do. I mean, I could go on and on about all these awesome, unique things that we have here. And you know what? They're worth preserving. They're worth fighting for. But if your government can't even respond, react, prepare, address your priorities because it's tied in knots of just dysfunction and fighting, it's not good for anybody. It's not. And it doesn't matter. I'll say it again. If you're flaming liberal or rock hard conservative, it's a dysfunctional government that's not acting, not moving, not being proactive. And that stagnation, you know what stagnation does in business? You have other businesses come and pass you up. You have stagnation in the greatest country in the world. You lose that, and you have other countries pass you up. So demand accountability. It's not who can throw the best grenade at the other party. It's who can deliver results and actually figure out. You know, we have 3 young kids, and they behave much better than Barker's do. But his are what, 2 and 4? Yeah, ours are older. They can talk and stuff. But you know what? I sit there and look, our kids fight sometimes, right? They'll be fighting sometimes. Every single time when they're fighting, is there ever a resolution that actually makes sense? You know, I know I want it. One of them gets it, the other one's entirely unhappy. And so I often sit there and try and talk to them about it. Like, hey, look, let's think about a resolution that actually makes sense. Something that actually moves the ball forward. And you know what? I may go in there with 12 things on my list that I want, and somebody else may come in with their 12 things, and I may walk out with 7 of them. You know what? That's 7 more than I started with. And those last 5, you bet, I'm coming back in round 2, and I'm going to negotiate those as well. But just demand accountability, because I mean, look, I was in the Capitol, I was on the House floor on January 6th when the rioters came in. And I mean, this is crazy what's happening to our country right now. And it's not good for anybody. These aren't the principles or the foundations that made us the greatest country in the world. It disrespects the sacrifice of all these veterans and the founders and all of these people before us that established, that fought, that protected this great place that we have. So demand accountability, and let's put this country back on the path of greatness, and make sure that we truly leave an awesome place for our children and grandchildren. So, thank you.